I'm here with Coach Haselhorst of Papillion LaVista South, the girls team. They've won 3 state championships since 2010, 14, and 15, so they're back-to-back state champions. Thank you very much for giving us your time. First question is, what or who got you into coaching?
I think I kind of have a long story, but we'll try and give you the short version of it. So I think for me, what really got me into coaching is when I started running cross country in high school, and even when I started running track in junior high, that was where I first really started to connect with my dad. I always worked for my dad, so that boss-child relationship, those lines always got blurred sometimes. But when it came to my running, like, it was a different relationship with my dad. And so for me, my involvement in running has always been something about my dad. And then I had a phenomenal cross-country coach in high school, that just kind of continued to build that spark and flame, and just the impact that he had on me in my life as I learned about the sport of cross-country was just awesome. So those are kind of my 2 big influences and why I do what I do today.
Nice. What is your coaching philosophy? I know it's kind of a big overall arching question, but
well, I kind of look at it. Kind of our big motto in our program is to leave your old self behind. It's from an old Nike free commercial that you can find on YouTube. And the first time I saw that, it just kind of sparked something like that. If I had to summarize my philosophy, that would be it. Whether it's in running, whether it's mentally, whether it's physical, whatever it is, our challenge as runners is we're trying to leave our old self behind. We're trying to be better than we were the day before. So as we build our program, as we do anything, we always kind of have that mindset involved. And it expands to so many things beyond that as well. Like relationally, we're trying to leave our old self behind. We're trying to be a better person relationally than we were in the past. Be a better teammate, be a better son or daughter, be a better, for me, to be a better husband. We're always trying to leave our old self behind. So if I kind of had to summarize my philosophy, that would really be it. That doesn't get into the nuts and bolts of training or anything, but that's really a mindset that we take and we talk a lot with the girls on our team about, is that's our challenge, is we're trying to leave your old self behind every day. And when we do that, by the time October rolls around, you're going to be closer to being the best runner you can be, and hopefully beyond that, a better person than you were when we started back in August as well.
Excellent. How are you able to continue the success each year and create that culture of excellence?
I think that's a good question. And I struggle with this a lot of times because I really feel our job as coaches, and then my thought process in this has evolved over time as coaching. I used to really think it was the kids' job, to really continue that, but then you realize they're only here for 4 years. And some of those kids, they may only be a contributor, maybe their junior, senior year, so they really only have a 2-year window of influence. And then when they're gone, they might come back and visit, but they're not around. Like, we as coaches are the long-term standard bearers of our program. And so I really think it is our job as coaches to have a long-term vision for what our program is going to be and what we want our program to be, and we can get kids' input into that. But ultimately, I think our program is going to model our personal attitude and our personal behaviors. So I think the challenge for us as coaches, if we want to establish long-term success, is I better be willing to be out front of that, and I better be willing to work harder than my kids. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, like, in terms of training, like my girls could kick my butt on any run. But for me, am I doing all the other things outside of practice, in terms of practice preparation? Am I continuing to learn more about the sport and grow myself as a coach? If I'm doing the same workouts that I did 3 years ago, and then I tell my kids we're trying to leave our old selves behind, well, I'm really not modeling that. My hope is that a kid comes back and visits our program and they're like, Coach, we never did anything like this. Well, yeah, that's, what we did was what we knew then, but we know more now. We continue to grow, we continue to develop. And if we do that as coaches, if we look to grow and improve our program, I think our kids who come into that are going to follow that. And that's going to be what leads to long-term success. We can't get comfortable where we're at. And if we get comfortable where we're at as coaches, your program's going to get comfortable where it's at. And then you're kind of relying on just the luck of talent to come in at the right time and take the next step. But we don't have any control over that. So we have control over just continuing to get better day in and day out in the small things. And so I like to think, and I hope our girls would back that, they see me talk about books that I'm reading a lot, or articles that I've read online, or videos that I've watched online, is that I need to model that passion behind being a student of the sport and continuing to learn and grow more about the sport. And then hopefully they follow suit. So I think that's evolved over time, but that's kind of where I'm at now, is that I need to be that long-term standard bearer and out front carrying the flag of what our program could be.
Excellent, amazing. I wish I knew some of this stuff when I was coaching. Could have helped me out a lot.
Well, there's been a lot of failures to get to that point, so. And there will be more to come, too. So.
Yeah. All right, season starts on August 15th, a week away, and being the favorite to repeat, what approach mentally do you have to work on as a team?
I think our biggest challenge is not to rely on what we've accomplished in the past. Because nothing that we've done, we don't get head starts at races because of what happened last year. Just the fact that we bring people back, those were people we were in last year. If we're the same people we were last October, we're not getting better as a program. And you gotta, I just always believe that there's people out around the state that are working hard to get better. And if we're just resting on our laurels, we're not getting better. That was good enough last year, but that doesn't mean it will be good enough this year. And so our focus is not, it can't be on winning another state title. It just needs to be going back to the process of what got us there in the first place. We have to trust the process, and that's the hard work that goes in. I've been really, really impressed with our girls this summer and the work that they put in. They're working hard, and that's what it takes. Come October 21st, it doesn't. Nothing that we did the last 2 years matters. Everybody goes to the start line with the same clean slate of this is a brand new race. And so we have to go to that line just as hungry as we've been in the past. We need to go to that line knowing that we're as prepared as we can possibly be. We can't leave any stone unturned. And so for us, it's going to just go back to taking care of the little things day in and day out and working on getting better and leaving our old self behind. And if we can focus on that, and if a state title comes, great, but that's really outside of our control. And so we can't focus on that. We just need to focus on the little things that put us in a position to make that happen if that's what's meant for us as a team that day.
Nice. What advice would you give to an aspiring coaches?
I think the best piece of advice I could give, I think it's easy for us when we come in as young coaches, and I know I was this way, is you kind of want to put on the front that you know a lot and that you kind of have it all together, when the reality is we don't. And I think we just need to acknowledge that. We need to let our ego, put that to the side and be willing to be a learner of the sport. Be willing to contact people and just ask, hey, what do you do in this situation? How do you handle this situation? And I had a good mentor of mine who came alongside me really early in my coaching career and just said, Jeremy, you don't have it all together. Don't act like you have it all together. Like, if you want to be the best that you can be in the sport, learn from the people that you have the opportunity to learn from. And those were some words that really just kind of resonated to me. And so then I started emailing coaches and started calling coaches if I could get their phone number and just picking their brains and just trying to be a better student of the sport. And some of those coaches would say no, which is fine. I could accept and understand that. But some of those coaches opened up and just, were just a wealth of knowledge to me. Roger Wright at Marion's one that I could always ask him questions. And even though the guy is competitive as all get out,
Yeah.
He was willing to answer my questions, and he was willing to, give me advice. And there's just been so many other coaches, even coaches from outside of the state of Nebraska, that have done the same thing. And so I think that would be my biggest piece of advice to just a young aspiring coach, is just, put the ego aside and just become the best coach you can be. Keep learning, keep studying, keep reading, because there's so much out there about running. Even as simple as a sport we might think it is, it's so complex that you can always learn more. And that's to the benefit to your kids and your program.
Definitely. What makes this team, 2016 team, unique, special?
It's early, and so we're still, the personality of this team hasn't fully emerged yet, and I never really think it does until about midway through the season. But I'm really impressed with the work ethic of this team. I'm really impressed with the competitiveness of this team, which sometimes with girls I think is tricky for that competitiveness to come out because they don't want to hurt each other's feelings. But this group of girls that we have, they know they're making each other better. They're going to go out and they're going to battle and they're going to push each other, and they're going to have to compete for spots, and somebody's going to get left out of that top 10 or that top 7. And right now I think we got about 10, 11 girls that are going to, are legitimately competing for those top 7 spots, and somebody's going to get left out. But they keep working together, and it's fun to watch. And even though we bring back a lot of girls, we have a really good youth movement coming in. We got some sophomores who've kind of taken the next step. They were good runners last year, and they're taking the next step in developing this year. We've got some current juniors who, are really kind of stepping into that leadership role that they haven't had to be in the past, and so it's neat to see them kind of blossom and emerge. And we got some freshmen that are just kind of stepping in, that they're competitive little suckers, and they're getting right in there, and they're not being timid and shy. They're just going out and working hard, running hard. So it's going to be really interesting to just see how the dynamic continues, over those early weeks when we do start to have to fight for spots. Can they still be great teammates? Can they still love each other? Can they still push each other each day at practice? And I believe that they will, just because of what I've seen this summer. That's kind of what I see in this team. I think that's what makes it unique, even more so than our years in the past, is we haven't always necessarily been the most competitive. We were great teammates, but we didn't really want to compete with each other every day. And this team is competing with each other on it every day. And I think that's going to help us continue to grow and take the next step. So
good. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, hopefully it plays out.
What other items do you do beyond running to prepare your student athletes to be at their best?
I think we focus a lot on the mental side of things. We try to be really intentional about the mental training of things. That's what I read a lot of books on. I mean, it's easy to find training articles, and it's not that I've moved past that in my coaching career, but that's not what consumes most of my time in improving our program. What consumes most of my time is the mental side of things. And so this year, and our girls don't even know this yet. Well, hopefully by the time they see this, they'll know this, because we're going to start it tomorrow. But we've created kind of a booklet that we're going to use every day, and there's some journal pieces to that. What went well in your day today? Things that we've done in the past, but we haven't always been the most consistent with. Now we've taken the time, we've created this book, and it's going to be something we use every day. So every day is part of practice. They're going to get their books out, and we're going to have some intentional mental sessions. It's not going to take long, 5 minutes. But we just know that if we make small investments in those, and we're faithful in the small investments on those mental side, that can reap some big rewards at the time of the year where we need it to. So it's just trying to put them in a position to compete in October pressure-free, really, because I think a lot of times our runners and our athletes carry a lot of burden of stress that's self-imposed. They might get some signs from coaches or parents or outside influences, but really it's them self-imposing those stresses on themselves. And so how do we help break that down for them? Because I know they would probably like to get rid of it, they just don't know how. So I think that's something unique that we do. I think it's really worked the last couple of years. If you look back at the last 2 state meets, we weren't expected to be the teams to win, but our kids have really stepped up and competed really, really well because they weren't carrying pressure and stress, other than what they wanted to carry. So I think that's something really unique that we've done, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited about it. It'll be fun, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I know. When you gave your talk on the mental and strength side of things earlier this year at one of our clinics, I know the kids that were there, and even myself, were we just went home and devoured. And we were in Colorado for those 2 weeks for that training camp, and that's what we talked about a lot of our runs, and then afterwards of where we could be better. And
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. That's awesome. If I can help in that any way for anybody,
yeah,
call me.
Yeah. Just last question here, wrapping up the time,
Yeah.
but take as long as you want, because I know that team, it just seems special to you. So just talk about the team and the kids.
I mean, they're just an awesome group of kids. It's been so much fun all summer long. Coming and just seeing them grow as people this summer, seeing them grow as runners. We still got to keep working on the confidence side of things. That always kind of cracks me up a little bit, that it's a team that's accomplished a lot, but they don't always believe the most in themselves. And so, if we can break down those walls and those barriers, I think we're going to, help put them on a really good path of success and just, being really proud of what they've accomplished over the season, whatever that is. Whether that's a state title or not, it doesn't matter. There's this process and this journey that we get to go on. My favorite part of every season is seeing a team go through its full life cycle. No season is ever the same. It can't be, because you have different kids and you just have different dynamics. And so each team goes through its own life cycle. We're born in June, and we kind of grow up a little bit in July and August. And I always think like our teenage years is kind of like the early part of the season. And you kind of deal with some of those teenage things, as you deal with problems and drama and stuff. And then hopefully they move beyond those, and by the time we get to October, you're this fully mature team that's kind of reaching its potential and its pinnacle, And then once we get past October, it dies, it's come to the end of its life cycle. And so, for me, every season is just special, getting to see that grow and to see that happen. And I'm really excited about what this team becomes, just because we've had a lot of kids who are really taking the next step. And that's really what it takes for us to be the best team that we can in October. Is we need a whole bunch of kids, every girl bought into leaving their old self behind ultimately. And we've seen that throughout this summer, and I'm excited and encouraged to see that continue through the season. We'll see how they respond when it comes to race time, because going out and doing training runs is one thing, but to put it in place in a race is completely different. But for me too, what's been really fun is we have just a big group of girls, towards our top, that are just out competing and pushing each other every day, and nobody's really backing off. And we got a good pack, and I mean, anybody who knows our program knows that we love to pack run. And I think we have the potential to have one of the strongest pack teams that we've ever had. And it's a good mix of older, experienced kids and then new, young, incoming kids. So if we can get them all to gel and those dynamics to come around the right way, I think this team has the opportunity to be really, really special, and that excites me. And it's fun to be a part of. And we as coaches sometimes get way too much credit. They're the kids who are out, they're the ones out doing the work, and they just make us look good. But it's just fun for us as coaches to be able to be a part of that, And I like to see myself on the outside looking in of that, and my hope is it's them really coming together. I don't need to be in the center of that. I don't want to be in the center of that. I just like to be a guide, kind of helping direct them in the right place. So, yeah.
Excellent.
I think that's all.
Thank you for your time.
Hey.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.